Okay, what did I miss? What's going on? Let me get out of headphone mode here. What is going on, everybody? My microphone working? Yeah. It's a little low. Yeah. All right. I was doing some track investigating, cleaning up, all that stuff. Who's here? Let's see. Man. MPC and guitar. Well, let's see. Let me go from the beginning. EDK, what's up? Two for Chaos, John Meggs Beats. What's going on there, buddy? Scientific, what's going on? 82, of course. Good to see you, Mr. Discord. Plus 12 LCGs on the hat. Go hat, please. Okay. Tony is making a track live. I mean, it's kind of made already-ish, except that I'm doing editing and, seeing what's there. I kind of put that thing together last night or yesterday morning, one of those. It's been a lot of tracks lately. And so a lot of times when I'm just making the track, I'm just doing things, fast, intuitively. And then, and hopefully I've labeled enough stuff to keep myself organized. And then, so when I go back, I can figure out, what works or what doesn't. For instance, there was a strummed guitar that, in my opinion, I found does not work. I might be able to mess around with the pitch of it. I don't know. Or it's gone. Thanks for that, MPC. Thank you. Thank you, EDK. Thank you, all you guys. Scientific. Hey, Intricate. What's going on? Good to see you. Ex-Mortal. What's going on? Bizio. What's happening? Also doing... I'm tapping into... I'm going back to doing a little intermittent fasting. Am I having a beer right now? Yes. Because tomorrow starts like the real deal. I think if I had a Negroni tonight, you'd see the dragon fall off the chair or something. I'm doing I did 16-8, then 18-6. And then tomorrow, after tomorrow's 6, I might fast to like Sunday night. Something like that. Figuring it out. I do really well with intermittent stuff. The intermittent. Fasted all day, worked 8 hours up in the mountain, and only had a fruit snack. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so I like to do these tracks. What's kind of fun is I thought about it yesterday. Like that one started on the MPC because I was like, I'm in the mood to rip off Billy Idol. So I'm going to do that Eyes Without a Face beat, basically, with a Lindrum. And I hear you. I know what you're saying. I do have to be careful. 72 hours is when your body eats the dead cells. That's what I hear. I heard this. When you can do a 3, maybe in the middle of the week I'll do this. I'll do a 73. You're getting ready to smoke a cigar. Yeah, I smoked cigars when I was doing intermittent fasting a few years ago. You just have to be careful. Like I got lightheaded one day, like super lightheaded. And luckily this one guy that was there had these like keto bars, and I had a couple of those. Got my brain going again. Yeah, so getting back to like track world, where is that? Let me go back to that. Whoops. So yeah, what happened with this track, I started it on the MPC software and with my MPC studio thing. I really enjoy this shit. And I really like, let's see. I don't mind this plugin at all. Found some cool sounds in there. That's that pad that I was playing. What kit did I use? I think I used the what the hell was it? The Trinity, the F9 guys. F9 Trinity 80s kit. Trinity LD2, the Lindrum 2 kit. And I tweak things. Let me see if I can hear this. Oh, that's the other track. That's Rusty 2. There we go. There's your their Lin kick. I think they have some stuff on this a little bit. I haven't really dug into it. I added a little verb to that, and then I added some major amount to that, because when you hear just the beat, let's see, can I do that? I mean, that's pretty close to Eyes Without a Face. It's got some similarities. I just love Lindrum. That's my new t-shirt. It's going to be I Love Lindrum. So like all of that is coming out of the MPC. That's drums, bass, and the pad. Very Depeche Mode. That's interesting. I was never really like a big Depeche Mode guy, and this is like everything. So I got I re-upped with Reason, because I have a bunch of tracks that would have caused me major grief if I didn't have some of the plugins, some of the instruments that I had not yet printed those things yet. So I'm really happy with it. I mean, the Reason Rack plugin, and there's a whole bunch of new stuff. There's a whole bunch of new instruments and all kinds of crazy. Let's see. Let me turn off my latency thing. Right there. So let me add a blank instrument so that I can, not wreak havoc on my track. And I'll show you guys a little bit what's going on. Reason rack. So I still have yet to I'm trying to reconfigure this a little bit. But I like this scenic hybrid thing. Can I make this bigger? I don't know. I don't think so. That's new. They give you the radical keys. They give you this new polytone thing, this object modeling thing, which is okay. I'm a big fan of this Humana vocal thing, I'll admit. Let's see. They have they've got decent sounds. The browser is not like, the most fun thing in the world. Here's Venus, Ooze. Not too bad. So they got that new thing. What else do they have? The radical keys thing, which is cool. So you get all the usual suspects as far as and they've definitely added a bunch of effects that are cool that you can use as, plugins on other channels. You just have to put a rack on your channel, and then you have access to all this stuff, because they have this like new delay, the Ripley space delay, which I guess is like I guess you would say it's like a combination of Sound Toys, what the hell is their delay? Echo Boy, and a little bit of RC20, because you can really get crazy with this, because it's got a whole, you can't really see it probably too well, but it's got like a distortion thing, a ducker, so you can have that whole bit where you only hear, it's got a wobbler, let's see, on the delay. So the wobbler gives you a little of that RC20 thing, plus the distortion thing. Let's see. Not crazy. It's on the delay, A lot of patches, of course. Let's see. Old slapback. It's a pretty good sounding delay. I mean, what is this? Ripley chorus. That's funky. Ripley spacious chorus. Sudden wash. Let's see what that sounds like. I like that. And of course, all the fancy bells and whistles of beat sync and all that. So like you could sync the LFO. Wild. Wait a minute. What's that on your desktop that I can't really see all of my chat. Hold on a second. Let me move this thing over. Tony. What's the fader controller on your desktop that memorizes the faders? The one thing I don't have yet. I use the fader port 8. Motorized fader thing. By Personas. Yeah, that's it. It's good. It totally works. There's a bunch of things out there like that now. Let's see here. What am I missing? Anything? I love Lindrum. You know, I was thinking about the other day. I was doing a little random listening the other day, and I realized like I was never a big like 80s I guess you would call it new wave kind of guy, like, or alternative rock guy, like The Cure, REM, and Depeche Mode. I don't know if you consider them all together, but out of those three, by far the worst one to me is REM. I think The Cure and Depeche Mode are like kind of a lot above REM. I think REM is kind of overrated. Is that a hot take? What else we got here in Reason that came along? Let's see. I'll go back to that page. Pornography ruined The Cure? I don't know what that means. Let me see, what is this? I have the Pro X. Icon Q Pro X. Okay. Yeah, so other things that they put into this thing that I found to be interesting was their browser is a little weird. You got to like dig around. What was some of the new things that they have? The hybrid thing is great. I haven't checked out the club drums yet. I'm not really using it for. I mean, there's so many things to make a beat with or make a drum beat with. Process pianos seemed okay. Radical keys, went through that one. Then they have Radical Piano, which I've had for a long time. And I always can find something fun in this. You know, you got like upright stuff. A lot of interesting little weird pianos. Atlantic Records stereo upright. That does sound like what's an 80s dance piano. Yeah, sure is. You have all that. Windham Hill piano. I don't know what that would mean. Not bad. Listen, man, if you can't make tracks with the amount of stuff that is accessible now, with what you have, you know, make with what you have, you got to check yourself. What else do they have that's cool? I mean, this is one of the things I couldn't live without was their little SE1 clone. The SE, this thing is good. I love this bass. There's a couple other things. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Organic. I love this. Nino hates content. You should quit the business. And I just like the idea that you could just, you know, really quickly just hit the filter and get things a little tweaked. You know, you got the 2 oscillator thing going. I love that sound. So back to the track. I don't have the master bus on right now. You know? So yeah. I mean, do you hear like a... let me go back. I'll go back and A, B. You tell me. You know, here is... Let's see. Let's put the master bus over here so you guys are witness. Let's make it active. Oops. I'm still on Ozone 11. I haven't done the upgrade yet, admittedly, even though I trashed Weaver last week. I mean, I'm not in a hurry. So here, this is my like little basic master bus thing that I whipped up myself with just an EQ to do cleanups on at the very top. The dynamics, and I set it more or less like a an SSL bus compressor on the all thing, and what is it, 2-to-1, slow attack, quick release. I'm trying the vintage tape thing out a little bit. I don't know if it's... I hear it a little bit on the the transients. Then I got the Matchy Hugo thing going with the pink noise reference, because like when I'm doing tracks like this that I'm doing quickly, I'm not like, you know, going in with the quote unquote surgical. I am moving, you know? Moving along. What I got here. And so, I mean, here's with the... Oh, bypass. So you could hear it clearly does sound like mastering. That was the other thing that I was saying about, I think even Ozone kind of sells themselves short, because like I was saying, I found a way to do de-essing with this. I don't have a vocal on this track, but let's just say you could go, where the hell is isotope? You could do dynamic EQ, and they have a whole like vocal presence thing. You could use that, and you could, find your frequency like 6K, narrow it up, and do some de-essing that way without any trouble on a vocal. So why wouldn't someone, I think a lot of people sell themselves this whole package short because they think to only use ozone on the master bus. So if it was just a mix bus thing, like just a mastering suite, I would say, yeah, it's pretty expensive for just the average non-Dragon. But the fact that you can use all the plugins separately, let's just say, you could use Imager on a on a synthesizer track or strings or something like that and get all that spatializing stuff. You could do, there's a million things here. Not 9. I got to get rid of 9 out of there. Just get that shit out of there. Spectral shit. Match. And then you could do the match EQ thing. If you really are a little creative with that, you can get really crazy. It's got compressors, It's got tape simulation. Got limiters. So if you had nothing except this, if you had nothing except ozone and sound toys, you could basically make any record you want. I used to have that other shit. What was it? I probably still have it somewhere. Do I? Where the hell did it? I used to have like the one of the ones with an N. What was it? Neutron, or I guess it's gone. Yeah, there's no more. I think when I made the upgrade to this operating system and this version of Pro Tools, some of my old ozone stuff went bye-bye. Nectar? I used to have Nectar also. Yeah. Let me come back onto de-headphone my situation. Who else? What else we got going on? Yeah, it's good stuff. Ozone. And Reason. Tony, I found a tool mad helpful. What would that be? Hi all to Nino Hates Content. The group hug for Nino. What's the mad helpful tool? Yeah, Nectar's good. I like that plugin too on Reason, the retro transformer thing. It's fun. Nothing like grabbing a fader, John. Nothing like grabbing that fader and really doing a ride. But the real magic is when you can do your blends with like 8 faders and get a whole organic kind of thing and then write it into automation. That's the fun stuff. So it's mellow tonight. Very stressful week. I definitely don't want any politics in the chat. It was a very tough time, That's why you need something like a Friday night to just vibe out on music and get away from it all. I noticed that my social media, not to get into it, but my social media went into a whole nother dimension today. I was actually fascinated by, do I do those type of rides on every mix? No. No. What's up, Made So Well? What's going on? I tried a tool called Melda M Matcher. All right, Melda Matcher. Yeah, I mean, no one wants to see. Yeah, I know what you're saying there, intricate, and that's. I had no idea the guy that was that young. I didn't know much about him, to be honest with you. Every creator is saying something. Led, you're not Tony. Yeah, I mean, it's there's time to like get it. You want to just get away from it a little bit. Music, it's good. You're gonna get plenty of it somewhere. So yeah, I got a couple of videos that I found to check out. One that I didn't watch, Master Match by T-Rex. Is that the question? Yeah, what was it called again? Melda Matcher. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see here. I think it's fun though to, speaking of, let me just go back to the reason thing one more time. Hold on a second. Just for you guys. I don't know if, I might seem like I'm not a reason shill by any means, but I'll show you one more thing that I was quite shocked that it does. Let me go back to Pro Tools. I kind of see why, where was that instrument? Okay, instrument rack plugin. So, how does it work? Add a device. Player. Boom. And then wait a minute. I fucked up. I'm not super slick at this yet. Add a device. Instrument. Let's just go hybrid. Okay. And let me find something somewhat normal. Soft piano. So they have their, I think it's got to go this way. I can never remember which way it is. So they have their own scaler. And, you could pick the key over here. You could pick their chord progressions that they like or some... Pretty interesting, huh? It's actually kind of nice, whatever that is. And then there's, I haven't messed with it much, but there's ways of like you drag the cord right in here and you're off to the races. So, you know, and then I saw guys using like the chord thing and then like adding another player with the hell was it? I think they added, where was that plus thing again? Plus add player. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Anyway, you could use like the chord thing and then add the arpeggiator thing. And this, all this color coding has to do with like, this is, the black stuff is like, the bright green are all the chords that are like really kind of safe. And then the lighter green are less safe. Oops. And then the black is like out there. That's kind of fun. Because you could like really... I mean, if you can't make tracks today, man, I'm telling you. What did I do here? Oh yeah, I don't need that on there either. No insert there. I want to make sure I know what the hell's going on when I come back to it. So you know what I'm saying? You could go nuts. Okay, Klimper was an app. Okay. Let's see here. Oops. Let me find the thing I looked at earlier. Oh, the old layer cake.
What does it take to...
The old layer cake playlist. Where was the thing? Oh, I know what it was. There's a... Speaking of Lindrum. I don't know if you guys have seen this. But it's awesome. Let's see. YouTube. Where the fuck are you? YouTube. Let me get this working. YouTube.
Sometimes I have a hard time explaining to people what I do for a living. I found that the following usually works pretty well. I'll say, do you remember back in the early 1980s when pop music started using drum machines and consequently lost all of its soul? And
this is like the best documentary I've seen on the Lin and the whole bit. All right, John makes beats. Let's go.
Humanness? Well, I'd say it's my fault.
What are they trying to do with the fucking Beatles?
I was born in 1955, and in the 60s, music was a way that people communicated with each other. Because there was no internet, there weren't many different ways that young people could learn about things. And it was a revolution. You know, there were new sounds in music with electronics and such. So And this made me gravitate towards music.
My dad was a professor of music theory and composition at the University of Southern California. And my mother was musical also. She sang opera, so music was a big part of our lives. I started playing guitar when I was about 8, and my dad was more interested in having me study classical guitar. But eventually I shifted over to more rock and popular music, and I think the same thing can be said for my interest in guitar. I like the marriage of electronics along with the instrument. And so from early on, I really liked the sound of the electric guitar. I loved twangy Beatles records and sound effects pedals that came onto the scene sometime in the early 70s, the fuzz tone and the wah-wah pedal, all those sorts of things. And they were magical, the way you could transform the sound. And so I would take these things apart and basically do the equivalent of what people currently call circuit bending. I was very intrigued by how these effects pedals would alter the tone. So it was nice to be able to learn how sound is altered by the various methods these pedals employ. When I was about 20 years old, I had the great pleasure and luck of working with Leon Russell.
Like, how many people know that Roger Lynn was a guitar player with Leon Russell?
Who was a musician in the 70s, a songwriter and pianist.
And if you don't know Leon Russell, you can leave right now.
First knew Leon because I played guitar in the band of his wife, who was then called Mary McCrary. I got to know Leon and the members of his band, which at that time was the Gap Band. And plus, in the nights, I would use his wonderful studio to record my own music. He would let me do so. And so he saw that I did the recording engineer, and I was nerdy enough to know about all the recording equipment and played some guitar. And so he, once Mary was off the road, and they were living together in Tulsa, he offered me a job. And it was first just for recording engineering, but then finally, I eventually proved myself to be good enough to play guitar in his band.
There's no way that you would know that that was Roger Lynn, the inventor of the MPC.
When we would go out on the road.
He does sound like Jeff Goldblum. You're right, intricate.
Because even though I wasn't as good as the guitar players he normally worked with, I could cop their parts pretty well, so it was a package deal. Leon introduced me to the ideas of using drum machines in professional recordings. You have to understand that at that time, all that existed were poor quality drum machines, and they were pretty much associated with cheap music. And so I didn't like them at all. When I started working with Leon, he had one of the better drum machines, and he would use it in the recordings basically as what they call a click track. Now the problem is that they played the same beat over and over again. You couldn't choose. So he actually wished that the drum machine was programmable, and it just nobody had found a practical way of making a machine that could be programmed. And so I would say that Leon was in large part the genesis of the idea, and he was very good about breaking my prejudice against the idea of drum machines and recordings and using drum machines. And I think it were it not been for his influence in that area, I may not have gone on to develop my own drum machine. Since I was using a drum machine in my own little songwriting demo recordings, I thought, wouldn't it be great to change the beat? So I wrote a little computer program on an early computer I had that allowed you to program in a repeating beat.
And it was hooked up to a sound generator board from a Roland drum machine.
This consisted of a cardboard box with some early circuit boards and wires hanging out of it. But if you pressed the buttons on the circuit boards, it would make those drum sounds. And people would just be amazed. They'd press the button and they'd hear this recording and they'd say, how could this possibly happen? This is not possible. I've got to have one of those. And through some of my musician friends,
I showed it to Stevie Wonder, and I saw how difficult it was for him, being a blind person, to be able to use it. And I thought, well, this makes no sense. I'm making something about sound. Why am I forcing people into to work visually? And so I went back to the drawing board. In the 70s, everything was analog synthesis, and it all betrayed.
I thought that was an interesting observation on his part, and like it's kind of the problem we have right now is that like you really almost can't make music now if you can't see all this shit.
Shows all the musicians would come up and say, can you give me your best horn sound or your best string sound or your best ensemble brass or piano sound? And people would take their analog synthesizers and tweak them to try to get them as close as they could. But ultimately, people wanted realism. That was what really people wanted at the time. It occurred to me that if I wanted to make the sounds better, there's only so far you can go with sound synthesis. There had been some academic papers at the time about the idea of storing sound as numbers on tape. You couldn't put tape in a drum machine to make the sampled sounds play back, but you could store it in computer memories. And even though computer memories were very expensive at the time, if all you needed to store it was a short bass drum and a short snare drum and a short hi-hat and a few other short drums, that didn't take up so much of this computer
Wait, you need to record that, Tony? Record what?
memory, and then you'd have the software sequencing these little strikes, and it's always the
Oh, you mean sample these kicks and snares? Yeah, man.
same recording playing, but nobody really noticed that. The drum machine idea at first was it was secondary. I didn't really think that necessarily I would make a career out of this. I was still a studio guitarist, touring guitarist, and songwriter, and doing recording engineering as well, and some production. And so people would call me up. Sometimes the people I couldn't even get interviews for auditions. And I'd say, oh yeah, you're calling me up about guitar. I said, no, we heard you had this drum machine that you made. And I said, but that's not what I do. I said, oh, that's fine, sure, yeah, I understand, but can I see this drum machine? So I basically eventually rode the horse in the direction it was going and started my own company up to make these drum machines. And the first product was the LM-1 drum computer, which was a very large unit and cost about $5,000. And it would have, I think it said 18 drums that were all sampled sounds for the first time. The first top 10 hit that it was used on prominently was from a band called the Human League, and it was a song called Don't You Want Me Baby. And it was just marvelous to hear it. It felt like I had written a song and somebody's playing my song.
I was thinking as you said it, that's for today, and then you said it. Oh, yeah. The eyes, you don't use your... Yeah, I think it's bugged out that, that now, because everything is screen-based, that your eyes are, like, taking... When I was in the studio with tape decks and consoles, like, there was nothing to look at. The tape counter, that's about it. But now it's just like everything is a visual.
Song on the radio.
Don't you want me, baby?
Fair use. What are you doing?
Drum machines, by their very nature, sound robotic, and I worked hard to
Lynn is the OG. The Lynn drum is the OG. It is no joke.
Processes which made them sound more fluid. For example, I created the timing corrector, which has now been called quantized, which first appeared on my drum machine. You could really get something that sounded very human. But the Human League made it sound as inhuman as possible. And they had the hi-hat going the same volume. And I thought, no, please don't do that. What I was surprised by was the desire by many musicians to make it actually a feature that I've got a robot drummer. For example, Prince, when he did all those hits that used the original LM1, it seemed like he was going for a synthetic sound, a surreal sound, which in retrospect was an interesting new sound.
Fair use, motherfucker. Fair use. Come on. It's hard to believe and anyone that says like a drum machine doesn't groove, just...
Prince was effectively my marketing department for my company.
I think he was able to take things and see value in them that other people didn't see. And that reflected in more popularity of the LM1 drum computer and then the drum machines that followed.
At this point, computer memory was starting to come down because of all the advances in technology and the increased demand for it, and therefore the lower prices. And when the second product, the Lindrum, came out, it sold for $3,000, and then later $2,500. So and there were 10 times as many sold that reason. But I think I learned a little bit better.
I want to quantize. I quantize the crap out of it.
About how to make better recordings, and also the operating system was a little bit more refined, did more things.
Oh yeah. I mean, the amount of tunes is endless.
You will find me time after time.
There it is.
There's a lot of days.
Here's my drum beat. At least I'll admit it, right? That, you know, I went there.
Got no human grace. Take on me. Take on me. Everybody wants to.
I saw the need at the time, and a lot of my customers did too. They had the Lindrum.
This is a great documentary this guy did. He's got 215 subscribers. I don't know if he did this. It's unbelievable.
Or the LM1, and they wanted some sort of an entree into sequencing, and MIDI was just starting to happen then. So with the 9000, we first created a machine that had the drums and the MIDI sequencing parts as well. The other thing about the Lin 9000 was
it had hardware issues, it had mechanical issues, it was too expensive. And it was the dumbest thing I did was to cancel the previous product, the Lindrum, which people still wanted. I just assumed, well, why would they want the old one when the new one's so much cooler? Well, they'd want the old one because it's, you know, half or a third the price and doesn't do all the stuff that they don't need. They just wanted to make drum beats. You know?
the other problem I had is the Lin 9000 was the first product I made where I felt I had to make a real company out of my company.
I was not good at running a business because I didn't know what I was doing, and I just hated it. I had 55 employees and a large facility, and I ran out of money, and there were too many bills to pay. And so in 1986, Lin Electronics just shut its doors. But the good news is that after Lin Electronics went under, then Akai approached me, and they were just starting out.
Technology has just taken a giant leap forward. Hello, I'm Roger Lin, and this is the MPC-60 MIDI Production Center, created by myself and Akai Professional. So they contacted me and then they said, you know, you're very good at creating these things. We're very good at all the production, the sales, and the marketing, and all that stuff. Why don't we work together? And I said, sure. And so we came up with a couple of products to start with, and one of them was called the ASQ10, and that was the MPC-60 without the drum samplers in it. So it was just a sequencer. But the MPC itself was a MIDI sequencer and drum sequencer and sampling drum machine all in one package. I thought at first it was too expensive. When it came out, it was at first $5,000. And I thought for that time, that was probably a bit much if they wanted to sell a lot of these things. But I guess what I didn't expect was the birth of hip hop, which was very fortuitous for me because the hip hop artists, the vast majority of them, used my MPC-60 to create their tracks, and that was just sort of a lucky accident of timing. It was a great surprise. We didn't think it would do that well, and it did do very well. And there was a second version, the MPC-60-2, Roman numeral 2, which was basically Akai's attempt to increase the profit. It was the same product exactly inside, but it had a headphone jack. Then after the MPC-60 and MPC-62 came the MPC-3000 that was basically the same product but with a lot more features, and that was embraced even stronger. Eventually, Kai and I had a bit of a falling out. They were trying to maximize the profits and weren't as keen on paying my royalty. And so we had a disagreement there. But anyway, it's resolved, and they've been making other products in the MPC line. But anyway, so what I did a few years back, about 2000, around 2000, I started my company, my new company, Roger Lin Design. And I like the idea of starting my own company again and being able to have a little more control over my destiny. And when you have a small company, you can You can sell more to the top of the pyramid, and you don't need to make such a broad-based product. And you know, the real creative people, there aren't that many of them. People that really recognize new ideas, and what turns me on are new ideas. I try to do the best I can, but you never can tell what the truly creative artist is going to use your tool for. Did anyone ever think that in the invention of the vinyl record that someone would be scratching with it? You know, no way, right? You know, all you can do is you can take your best shot at predicting the future, but usually you're wrong. And who tells you what the future is? The artist. And that's the purpose of the artist in culture, is to predict the future, right? Before everybody else. To me, there's nothing more personally gratifying than to create a new musical product, release it to the world, and watch how it affects this wonderful art of music. I can only make the brush. The artist chooses what to paint with it, and there have been some beautiful paintings that have been made. In conclusion, I can think of nothing more exciting than to be a small part of this new revolution, and I thank you very, very much for this kind award. Good night.
Ben J, thanks for the buy me a coffee. I guess I didn't have it on that screen. So, Ben J, I appreciate the coffee. Who else? Yes. Always appreciated. Yeah, that's a good doc. I can't figure out why the guy only has 215 subscribers. This dude was pretty wild. We're gonna go drum machine back to back. I didn't get a chance to watch all of this myself. It's 5 minutes. So it's pretty impressive what this guy's got going on.
My name's Joe Mansfield. We're at my office in Quincy, the offices of Get On Down, and this is my drum machine collection. At a young age, I realized I wanted to be involved in producing music or creating it in some way. I can remember back in the early 80s listening to like electro stuff like Bambaataa, Soulsonic Force stuff.
This guy has it all.
Always being interested in what was used to create that, how could I make something like that. Starting then, I wanted to be involved in music in some way. 82, 83, listening to Run DMC. I've always was interested in like listening to Sucker MC. What was that? How'd they make that?
$5 boy and it's $1 million man. You's a sucker MC and you're my fan.
I was also at the same time into records, buying 12 inches or whatever was big at the time. And ever since then,
Check out what he says here. This is pretty wild.
I've been buying records, buying drum machines, and trying to make music.
I got to have it.
I produced Ed O.G. and the Bulldogs, I Gotta Have It. I produced that and most of the stuff on his first album, a lot of his second album. It's a lot of, sampling and a little bit of drum machines on the Ed O.G. stuff. On I Gotta Have It, I actually used the machine that's over there above your head. That R8M is the tambourine from I Gotta Have It's on there. This machine here, I had a regular drum machine version of this, which is the R8 and the R8M, the rack mount.
I definitely messed with an R8M at one point, and definitely an R8. I definitely had one of the, or like, what does that say? Thank you, Intricate. It's a good watch. It's very stealth. But the R8, it had a sound. Very Roland.
Version, I used that on Ed O.G.'s first album. I find a lot of my drum machines in the early days on my record hunting trips. At the same time I was building my record collection, I would find really
Check out what he says here. He got a lot of these for like 10 and 15 bucks.
expensive drum machines that were like throwaways. 'Cause I'd be looking for records in those places and I'd come across the, throwaway drum machines nobody cared about, and I'd always buy them. They were cheap, like 10, 15, 20 bucks. Well, they were cool to me. They, they looked really interesting, and I would always pick them up. This is a Oberheim DX drum machine. It's a little brother to the DMX that we have over there. It has the same sounds as a DMX. It's actually programmable by recording drum sounds into the sequencer.
Get these samples.
It pretty much works like a tape deck. Press record and play, and you'll hear a metronome and you start playing to it. You got your bass drum, your snare, your different states of hi-hat, and your toms and cymbals. And we also
I remember when drum machines first started going, getting going, and everybody was like obsessed with toms. Oh man, you could do the toms. You know what I mean? Why? I have no idea.
got your shakers and a clap. So I'm sure everybody
The other thing everybody was obsessed with was the cymbal decay.
knows this shaker. It's like salt and pepper, push it. Basically, the most distinctive part of that song is this shaker here.
Fair use, please, fair use. Don't kill us. Don't kill us with the fair use. Fair use, motherfuckers. Come on, fair use.
So this is a Vox Percussion King.
That's kinda cool.
Machine, late 60s, made by the Vox company, known more for like guitar accessories than drum machines, but this is a super cool
You're right,
machine.
Eddie Ruggs
It's
fan.
not programmable in any way. It's basically live use. They were modified, like Kraftwerk modified theirs. They added drum triggers to trigger theirs with pads, and they may even have modified it to be able to be synced with the sequencer they had. But other than that, it's pretty much you play it live, and that's it.
This guy's got good feel.
This is a Roland TR-808. It's the first drum machine I've ever purchased. When this thing originally came out, it was really expensive when it came out in '81. A really expensive machine. By the time I bought it in '85 used, it was out of favor. It was basically, people weren't into the 808 back then. Roger Lynn put out the Lynn drum.
There's the one that I bought for $200 in mint condition and gave to Alicia Keys, and no one knows where it is now.
The LM1, and it pretty much killed this machine because the sounds are synthesized, whereas the sounds are samples. They're samples of a drummer, and they're stored on EEPROM computer chips, so it sounded more realistic as opposed to this. So this was inexpensive when I got it. Really plummeted right when the Lynn drum came out. No one bought these, and then the prices went way down. But I loved it because all the songs I thought were the coolest were made on this machine. And Marvin Gaye used this machine. Beastie Boys, pretty much their whole first album, it's the 808. Of course, now they're back-in style, command many thousands of dollars for this machine. I remember when I first got it, I was listening to Strafe Set It Off, which came out probably a year before I actually bought this, and I programmed it in here. This is actually probably done in 1985. I never erased it.
Hey man, I was being nice, you know what I mean? And I found it I told the story before, but I found it in an old guitar shop that I used to go to in East Brunswick, New Jersey. It's 2004, maybe 5. I was like, how much do they want for it? $200. Bought it, brought it to the studio, to Alicia's studio out in Glen Cove, Long Island. I was like, hey, here, I want to give you this. Like, this is the drum machine Prince uses all the time. Oh yeah, thanks. That's it. That's the last I ever saw it.
But it's still there, and that was me trying to recreate Strafe Set It Off.
Set it off, I suggest you.
Who did this? Produced by George Logios. Remixed by Kenny Carpenter. Flatbush Station, Brooklyn, New York. Just Born Productions. You put the phone number right on the record. You gotta love that.
Set it off, I suggest you. Set it off. Set it off. Set it off. Set it off. Set it off.
Thanks for checking out my drum machine collection. If you get a chance, take a look for my book.
As a matter of fact, it's probably Swizz was probably like, where'd you get one of these?
Beatbox, a drum machine obsession. You can find that at getondown.com.
Then he probably sold it for $6,000 somewhere, or maybe 10 because he put his signature on it, even though he wouldn't even know how to turn it on.
Thanks for watching.
That's a good one, right? That guy has like quite the impressive collection. Got the headphone head tonight. Oh my god. There's one other thing I wanted to check out before I start, going full, where was it? There's Sophia Latella. That might be for later. This was something I wanted to, I think we could check out to,
This episode is sponsored by me and Learn Light and Sound.
vote on a little something. See what this guy has to say. I thought this was interesting.
Where we have courses on how to improve your lighting and sound for video.
Mic.
Link down below. Also, full disclosure, Warm Audio sent me the Warm Audio WA87 Junior Studio Essential microphone, which is what you're hearing throughout this video, for free. They haven't told me what to say. They haven't paid me further. So that's the full disclosure there. I did buy the Neumann U87 AI, which we will compare it to in just a moment in terms of sound, and Rode did send me the Rode NT1 5th generation, which we'll also compare it to. So let's set the context for this. I do voiceover work. I am not a singer. I do not sing professionally. I only sing badly in private. Not even my wife hears me singing because I don't sing even when she's around. Let's first get you some samples of the WA87
So we can kind of vote on this, all right?
Junior Studio Essential versus the Neumann U87 AI and the Rode NT1 5th generation. It was easier to know it than to explain why I know it. If you were asked to prove that 2 and 2 made 4, you might find some difficulty, and yet you are quite sure of the fact. It was easier to know it than to explain why I know it. If you were asked to prove that 2 and 2 made 4, you might find some difficulty, and yet you are quite sure of the fact. It was easier to know it than to explain why I know it.
Those both sounds pretty similar.
If you were asked to prove that 2 and 2 made 4, you might find some difficulty, and yet you are quite sure of the fact. Okay, so there are some samples for you to make some judgments on what sounds best to you. Granted, that's only one voice, my voice, as a sample here through those microphones.
Wait,
it was
let's go
easier
back.
to know it than to explain why I know it. If you voiceover work, I am not a singer.
Here we go.
I do not
Let's
sing
listen to this.
professionally. I only sing badly in private. Not even my wife hears me singing because I don't sing even when she's around. Let's first get you some samples of the WA87 Junior Studio Essential versus the Neumann U87 AI and the Rode NT1 5th generation. It was easier to know it than to explain why I know it. If you were asked to prove that 2 and 2 made 4, you might find some difficulty, and yet you are quite sure of the fact. It was easier to know it than to explain why I know it. If you were asked to prove that 2 and 2 made 4, you might find some difficulty, and yet you are quite sure of the fact. It was easier to know it than to explain why I know it. If you were asked to prove that 2 and 2 made 4, you might...
Okay, so what do you think? I mean, I think the Warm Audio one sounded a little hyped, but not much, and all three of them sound good. The Neumann sounded a little more, I don't know, there was like less noise or something. It was cleaner. Is that the right word? Let's do it one more time with this guy.
It was easier to know it than to explain why I know it.
Like, that's pretty present.
If you were asked to prove that 2 and 2 made 4, you might find some difficulty, and yet you are quite sure of the fact. It was easier to know it than to
I mean, there's a little more body on this 87.
explain why I know it. If you were asked to prove that 2 and 2 made 4, you might find some difficulty, and yet you are quite sure of the fact. It was easier to know it than to explain
The Rode doesn't sound bad either, though. Like, all three sound good.
why I know it. If you were asked to prove that 2 and 2 made 4, you might find some difficulty, and yet you are quite sure of the fact. Okay, so there are some samples for you to make some judgments
Whatever he's talking on right now is really sibilant.
on what sounds best to you. Granted, that's only one voice, my voice, as a sample here through those microphones. All of them recorded into the sound devices mixed pre 3.2. Let's run through some specs. First,
Do we really need specs? No, we need fucking sound, man. Let's go further.
WA87R2, That one has a transformer in its design. It has a very vintage kind of design. The next two, the WA87 Junior and the WA87 Junior Studio Essential, which you're hearing now, do not have transformers. They are FET microphones. They're less expensive to produce, and I think overall that gives it probably a
The sibilance on this does not thrill me.
lower self-noise specification. But in any case, that's the difference between them. Well, there are other differences as well. Another difference is that the WA87R2 and the WA87 Junior both come with a shock mount, whereas the Studio Essential version only comes with this hard mount. So you can attach it to a microphone stand, and it's not going to do any sort of isolation. All right, let's do a bunch of samples here. First up, proximity. First, here's a proximity sample. I'm getting up very close on the microphone, just within about an inch or two. And then as I back off,
It's fucking creepy.
here's probably a more normal talking distance or voicing distance, probably in the 6 to 8 inch range. Plenty of proximity effect there if you need it for your voiceover work. Sometimes we use that as an opportunity to
The sibilance is killing me, though.
do voice acting. All right, plosive sample. Facing the microphone. Peter Piper picked a peck of purple pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of purple pickled peppers.
It's way better on mic than off axis. Off axis, the S's are brutal.
Good microphone technique. Peter Piper picked a peck of purple pickled peppers. For plosives, pretty well controlled. Actually, surprisingly well controlled for the relatively open grill basket here. RF immunity.
Jeez, he's really thorough.
Phones are probably the biggest source of RF interference near recording equipment like this. With my phone, moving it all around the microphone, we didn't experience any sort of RF interference, so it does a nice job there. Stand bumps. Oh, that carries right through. It's actually worse if you hit the stand than the microphone. Oof. Yes, stand bumps carry through with this hard mount, so be careful. Here I'm talking directly into the front of the microphone. I'm going to go ahead and start turning it, and now we're at about 90 degrees off axis. And then I will continue turning the microphone. Sorry for the handling noise there. And now we're talking into the back of the microphone. We're coming back to the 90-degree mark, and then back to front of the microphone, 0 degrees, right into the mic. Off-axis coloration seems reasonably well controlled for me. Yeah,
Yeah, he's an S demon. I mean, Jesus.
there is some coloration, just like there is with any microphone that is cardioid with its polar pattern, but it seems totally like a non-issue. Practical self-noise sample, so we recorded some dialogue, boosted it to minus 23 LUFS, sort of a standard level, measured a silence section after applying an 80 hertz 24 dB per octave high-pass filter in post, and the noise floor sat at minus 70 dB, which is fantastic. You're not going to need to worry about this microphone creating a bunch of noise in your recordings. You're going to need to worry more about your room and how much noise there is in your room. Build is super solid feeling, all metal. No concerns there. It
I mean, the idea that you can get that for $200 is wild.
does come with a 5-year warranty. It's hand tested in Austin, Texas, where Warm
Austin, Texas.
Audio is located. I assume that means that it's assembled somewhere else, probably in China. I don't know. So if that's important to you, you might want to look into that.
This is a pretty good review, though. I mean, if you're going to really get down and do what, I mean, she's got 228,000 subs. I guess he's been doing this a while.
A little bit more, but it is hand tested by their team in Texas before shipping, and it's priced at $199 US. So here are some of my thoughts. First up, I'm surprised. On my voice and to my ears, the WA87 Junior Studio Essentials microphone sounds more open, but also warm in a pleasant and not overbearing way, not woolly and kind of boo. Also, the higher frequencies are detailed without being overly sibilant. Surprising to me at a $200 price point.
What's his idea of over sibilance, man?
Guess what more can I say? My main voiceover microphone recently has been the Rode NT1.
How much does that go for?
Some of you that has followed the channel for a while might say, well, what about that Jay-Z Microphones V11 that you love so much? Well, yes, that one is great as well. What I found with that one, however, it's fine if I'm just doing voiceover and there's no music in the mix behind it. But as soon as you put music in the mix behind it, the dark nature of the V11 is just a little too much, and the voice kind of gets a little bit lost. Now, yes, I could use dynamic EQ and sidechain compression and dynamics. I could do all of that, and I do all of that.
The Rode is $150. That's pretty frighteningly cheap.
But if I want something out of the box, the NT1 has been filling that role better. It just has it's a little bit brighter on the top end and helps it cut through the music better. So what I'm going to do now, between all of those three microphones and of course the Neumann U87AI, which I own, I am going to swap the WA87 Junior SE into the mix as my primary voiceover microphone for the next little bit here. I'm actually, like I said, pretty surprised. So, cons. Are there any cons to this microphone? I guess the one thing is that it doesn't come with a shock mount. Now, you can buy one from Warm Audio for $89.
Wow, that's a lot. You know, the mic's $1.99 and the shock mount's $90.
But you could also, in that case, just spend another $10 and get the WA87 Junior, which does come with a shock mount, also has the high-pass filter, also has a minus 10 dB pad.
Yeah, that's the one you want.
And it can be switched to the different polar patterns, Omni, Figure 8, and Cardioid. So if the shock mount's important to you, and if you do a good job isolating it yourself, you don't necessarily need the shock mount, but if there's any chance that there's going to be any rumble on the floor, maybe it's a suspended floor, or I don't know, you have a tendency to get really wild with your hands while you're voicing, you might want to consider the shock mount as well. Otherwise, in my book, the WA87 Junior SE is worth your serious consideration if you're looking for a voiceover microphone that is affordable, period.
That was good information there, whatever your name is. Curtis Judd. So let's take a look here. Warm frickin' audio. Let's go. Warm audio. What you got there, Warm Audio? Find your mic. Damn. Let me move over here. So that's their expensive one, the ribbon, $1,200. The Fentone, another ribbon, $700. Their 47 is $999. FET 47, $799. Their 251 is $899. So they're like the Behringer of microphones, huh? They like just fucking copy them. C24, $1,600. C12, $1,200. $67,000. Here's where we were at, sort of the 87. That's the 87R2. I thought that's what he said. Or was it the 87 Junior? What the hell? Products. Microphones. The Junior. Here we go. So the Junior with the whole deal, the SE is $199, but the Junior, you get the whole deal. You got the, there you go. And they cut, yeah, man. Who else is Demian guy? Cynicism City. All right. Who is this guy? A non-member. Do we have to keep an eye on them? The the MF. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm going to give some freeloaders. I'm going to hook up some freeloaders. We got James. Nick Ezzo. Cool. I'm glad you got one. Rob Mully. Trace Lee Holland. Glad you got one. Who else? A Major Keys. Cool. James Fathom. Cool. Welcome aboard. Eddie Ruxpin says clip him. Neighborhood Watch. That's funny. They all showed up 5 seconds ago. That is weird. All right. Let me go back to... so this is the mic he just went over. I think it's cool. Nickel Jr., or you can get it in black. Nah, I like the nickel. And then the potent pairing is with their discrete mic pre for $450. That's mono? Okay. What other mic pre's they got? You said they jacked everybody's mic pre's. Let's see. 4-channel. Nice. Looks like API. What else they got? Preamps. Obviously a Neve 273 dual channel. That's fucking cheap. Little Avalon action, I guess. Is this one? Sort of. I don't know. Not bad. What's the cheapest thing they got? $450. But this obviously is kind of... This has the look. Don't it? Power supply's built right in. Alright. Not bad. Who has a 273? Ben J? Nice. Okay. A little less headphone action wouldn't hurt anybody right now. Yeah, who was the little, it's been a while. Let me see.
Oh, it's like, it's that one is puffy. Oh yeah, and I like that. It's like all mirrory inside. Oh my god. Look at it. The first thing that I noticed that I don't on other croissants is la pâte feuilletée, which is this the type of dough that is used for this croissant. This one is super, super layered.
What's the serious question? Okay, Damien. Gotcha. It's a very friendly location. Focusrite dual pre. That's good. That's a good piece of gear. There he is.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but there is no big lie. There is no system. The universe is indifferent.
Certainly fucking is. Certainly is. Yes, much tension. Much. Where's the weave? He hasn't popped through, has he? Wonder if I offended him by, broken wings and all that. Broken wings. What's up, Fisk? The broken wings. I'll tell you. Tony, what kind of mic do you have? I forgot. This mic right here is the Sennheiser Profile USB deal. And the other mic, I have a 50, and then I have this Lewitt thing, which I can't remember which one it is. The Lewitt is awesome. Let me look up what it is. Wait a minute. Search orders. I have the LC, the 440 Pure Lewitt. That's a great mic. Really great. That NT1 sounded pretty good though for $169. The Lewitt is about $300 now. I hardly knew him. Yeah, I have the Lewitt. .440 Pure for recording. And this mic is the Sennheiser Profile. That's the YouTube mic is my Sennheiser. It's been great. I bought a $10 pop filter for it. And apparently Lewitt was started by guys that left AKG, I guess. That was the thing I heard. Uh-huh. So I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, as we are wont to do on early morning music industry chat, and I was saying to him how I don't bother with any of that room modeling stuff, honestly. So what I was talking about with my friend was, why did I run into this song? Another guy that from the chat here I was talking to, and the Braxtons came up, and then I was thinking about Toni Braxton, and I was talking about how good looking she was. Like, I bumped into Toni Braxton once in the hallway at the Hit Factory. I don't remember what session I was on doing. And, there was all these, this was in the fancy building, which I got to show you this Bruce Springsteen thing, because it'll show you a good view of a lot of the Hit Factory that is no longer. But anyway, on the Toni Braxton thing, you know how you talk about somebody and then all of a sudden you're like, I got to listen to one of those songs again. You know what I mean? Well, first of all, Toni Braxton was one of the best looking women I ever was within a foot of or 2 feet of. And this was like in the mid 90s when she was just stopped you, like in your, like you just stopped and we're like, okay, she's fucking good looking. I worked with the two sisters too a little bit after that. I worked with them, Tamar and something else. They were cute. They were fucking really cute in the 90s especially. But anyway, so then I went down the road and I dialed up Unbreak My Heart, Tony Braxton. And I was like, let me pick up my guitar and like start playing along with it, you know? And it was like, you know, one of those things where like, oh wow, there's a lot of chords here. And damn, she really can sing. And wow, this production is insane. And the dress and the video and the orchestration. I remember how big a deal that record was. And I also, right around that time, I was doing some of the Michael Jackson stuff. And, you know, I was in the other room with Sheps and company. And Bruce Woodin was in, so this must have been like 94. Because that record came out in like 93. So let me tell you how good, like we know that it's a good sounding record. But here's how good sounding it was. There was a time where I needed to go into Bruce's control room to get something. I don't remember what it was. Or bring him something, like bring him one of our tapes or something like that. And I walked in, it was just Bruce in the room. In that SSL room with the round SSL that I've shown you guys pictures of. Let me see if I can find that. And Bruce was listening to that Tony Braxton record, the whole album, and basically, you know, kind of analyzing it, kind of checking out the vibe. Because he, you know, he had heard about it or whatever, and he also knew that was when Babyface was like peak Babyface, and you dated a Tony Braxton clone? Whoa, good for you. So Bruce Woodin was in there like doing a little analysis of somebody else's record, you know what I mean? And I remember talking to him about it. I was like, yeah, it's a pretty good sounding record, huh? And he's like, good stuff, you know? Twirls the mustache. Yeah, it's very good. Tony, it's very good. But anyway, brings me to my point, and I think it's going to be my next video on YouTube, is that that's when R&B was freaking amazing, like the early 90s, early 90s. And then what happened? What went wrong? I know exactly what went wrong. Some of you hip-hop guys aren't going to probably like it. But R&B got a little too cozy with hip-hop. They wanted some of the hip-hop thing. So they started working with hip-hop producers. And the sophistication and the quality of R&B tunes like Unbreak My Heart vanished. Like her next... Now listen, she had a bunch of big records after that even. It was mastered by... I think that was mastered by Herb Powers. Let's check that. Let me look. Maybe not. That might have been a Brian Gardner deal. Tony. Right, Tony Braxton. Tony Braxton is 57 now, which kind of blows me away. She still looks good. But man, was she cute back then. Let's see. Tony Braxton. These are real records, man. The likes of which you will never see again. Tony Braxton. $1993. Yeah, Vincent Herbert was involved. That was one of his early ones. So let's see. That's the first record. So we need the one with, but who did this one? Let's see. Musicians, technical. Dave Way. I never hear of him anymore. Phil Tan, I knew that dude. We worked on a bunch of shit together, you know, like separately together or whatever. The same records. We worked on Ben Garrison, holy shit. Mastering, Herb Powers. What was the next record? Secrets was. That's the one with Unbreak My Heart. And, okay, who worked on this? Like, look at the people that worked on this. Let's go to the technical. Let's see. See, Bryce Wilson was kind of a hack. Babyface was the, you know, obviously the truth. David Foster, Dean Parks, Michael Thompson, L.A. Reid, Keith Crouch, Greg Fillinganes, Nathan East, Kenny G, R. Kelly. Track 10? What was track 10? I Don't Want To. I don't know that song. And then technical. John Gass. I remember that dude for some reason. Mick Gazowski. I think Marican was involved. Al Schmidt. Glenn Marchese. I knew him. He was an assistant. Peter Mokran. Peter Mokran had a big run. Manny Marican. And then Herb Powers. But, you know, a record like Unbreak My Heart, which was written by Diane Warren, but then I think Babyface wrote the words. Let's go back. Unbreak My Heart. I mean, Diane Warren gets all the credit, but David Foster produced. That's why there's all those key changes and stuff. Like, the reason why people started doing like sort of dopey, like the song You're Making Me High. I mean, it's so hot at that point that anything would have been a hit. And Babyface wrote some of the music with Bryce. But, and Babyface wrote the lyrics. But it was a dumb song. And, you know, it'll take you 10 minutes to make a beat like You're Making Me High. But it would take you a month to come up with the chord progression and the changes and all that of Unbreak My Heart. And just the whole production, the whole overall thing is, yeah, I mean, you got David Foster, you got Babyface hanging around, you got L.A. Reid hanging around. You know, those were high effort productions and tracks and songs. Just when you're bored, just check out the video for that thing. It's beyond next level. I also don't understand why all the women tend to I don't know, it's a whole nother topic. Another sad love song. I like the way Braxton looked in the beginning. She was just a little toned down. She's had some big records, man. Breathe Again. 7 Old Days. Where the fuck? Like I can't play the music because I'll get clipped. But I mean, are you kidding me? Like, check out where this video goes. You get to the point where you're like, I have the sound off. I mean, when you get to this, all right, you know what I mean? I'll leave her on. There was no auto-tune. You know what I mean? That's not Tyrese. That's that Tyson Beckford guy. Like, you know, the production, like David Foster was working her through this vocal. Like, this melody was all over the place. Like, hold on a second. It was like, all right, so I don't know if you can hear this. You know what I mean? Like there's a dominant 7 chord in this song. Crazy. She was the truth. I mean, what the hell, right? I mean, and you know, Tony Braxton had the like a lot of people gave it the rap that she had like a low voice, and then here she is like ripping. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys can hear the guitar or not. And then the chorus is like a whole. Yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then you get to the one where like she works with like, you know, the hip hop. She wanted to get a little closer to the hip hop scene. And it's like 2 chords. It was a hit. But I do remember that people were a little bit like, but that's not the Tony I want. The problem with this is that there's nothing to it. You just heard the whole song. Compared to what Unbreak My Heart does, or, you know, some of those other Babyface tracks. This is like the whole, like, I picked up a guitar on this one, and I was like, oh, okay. You gotta love the no auto-tune thing, man. Just a comped vocal, just a real vocal with a comp, and, you know, call it a day, so to speak. Oh, really? Did not know that. Yeah, David Foster is a peculiar guy. I worked with him for like a day or two. And all he wanted to talk about was where his songs were on the Billboard chart. Like, he was obsessed with cash. She did write that for The Dragon. Why, as a woman, like these female stars, why do they go into more of a hoe direction as they get older, as opposed to, like, you'd think they would start off in like hoe territory and then mature and put on more clothing. Instead, you get to the point where, like, now J-Lo is going on stage basically nude. She started off as Jenny from the Block. And, you know, she was like a regular chick with the regular clothes. And just kind of like, you know, every girl like wanted to be as cool as Jenny from the Block. And dudes wanted to date her. And now you see her. And she's in her 50s, and while she looks, I mean, she's in good shape. But is there any reason why she now needs to be nude? Every time you see her, she has less and less clothing on. Let's see. See if I can find it. Jennifer Lopez. Oh, yeah, AMAs. Yeah, she's basically nude at this. Let's see. I mean, this is more clothing that... Let me just put that on. Let me just find the... What the hell is happening, man? You want to get creeped out, look up FKA Twigs live in Germany. The FKA Twigs live in Germany, I won't put it on. And when I was watching it, because I was like sort of like researching her to like, I was trying to learn about her music a little bit. So I've like dialed up a video, FKA Twigs live in Germany. So I started watching, and I was like, is this okay for me to be watching? Like, this is not normal. FKA Twigs is a witch. Like, you almost feel like it's illegal when you're watching it. You know, like someone asked for some type of tracks with an FKA Twigs vibe. So I was like researching FKA Twigs because I didn't know shit about her. And Travis Scott concert. No, that's, I mean, it's that I'm not getting into like religion or politics or anything like that, but you can't really deny that there's a certain thing that's happening. If you deny it, you're gaslighting everyone else, or even don't try and gaslight me, because I know what I'm seeing. It's like, okay, what, I didn't even expect that from J-Lo. There was another one where she was like in shorts and like a bra. Red and black and all that. The other one that was pretty funny yesterday that I saw was like, this is funny. I mean, it's basically all dudes here, so I can get away with this. But they're like, oh yeah, look at, wait a minute, where is this fucking thing? Oh yeah, this is it. So there's one shot of her. Oh, I don't know. There's Margot Robbie was on some award show the other day, and they were like, Margot Robbie in a stunning dress. So I like looked up and I was like, wait a minute. She's basically not wearing anything. Like, is that a dress? Like, I know what Margot Robbie looks like nude now. Because, you know, nothing left to the imagination with that dress that I saw. It's funny. It's funny, but it's not. I mean, they're like, friends of mine have like young kids. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you, but good fucking luck. Total dragon material. We're definitely in some strange territory. If you deny that, it's fucking weird. Oh, the other one that I saw was Dua Lipa. If you look at Dua Lipa from when she first started, when she was like very like young and like soft and like smooth, like chill. She was like a chill chick. And now dial up a new Dua Lipa thing, especially her live stuff, where all of the choreography and the dancers have all they're all her best friends now. And she is under a spell. That's the way I look at it. What's up, A Major Keys? Like Dua Lipa looks like she's under a spell compared to what she started out at 7 or 8 years ago, 9 years ago. It's crazy. Yeah, there's something going on. And like I said, I'm not exactly, you know. I haven't seen that. Dua Lipa dancing in Jimmy Kimmel's bed video. Let's see. Like, I think Dua Lipa seems like a cool chick, but she's got to get those fucking dancers and those choreographers away from her if she wants to fucking not become a mess. Because those fuckers are deviant. She does, I do think she drinks a bit. Yeah, I mean, they're all fucked up. They're all fucked up. I mean, possibly Taylor Swift will survive if she like gets married and like all of a sudden has a couple of kids and just kind of goes into, you know, being a billionaire. You're right about that. I actually mentioned that earlier today. I said maybe it's the Gaga influence, like, you know, the blood shit on stage, the meat dress, the, you know. Yeah, dude, the FKA Twigs thing is fucking disturbing. That'll fucking shake you up. Drinking with Seth Meyers. I don't watch any of that television shit, so it's like, I wouldn't even know. I can't take those fuckers. Almost any of them. Yeah, God, they all like laugh at the, like, you know, oh, look at me. Yeah, I could go full. It's crazy shit. What a world. We hardly knew you. I probably lost 10 people bitching and moaning about decadence. Good riddance. 10 o'clock. New York City. Conan was great. So was that guy, Craig Ferguson? Is that his name? The guy who like flirted with every chick and they all loved it. Scottish dude. Good stuff. What else did I have to talk about today? Besides the end of the world as we know it. We've got issues, you know what I mean? Oh, this looks interesting. Let's see this nerd. Let's see what he's got to say.
Drum machines.
So my love for these old drum machines partially has to do with the fact that no one drums in boxes anymore. You know, drums all exist on the computer. And I understand if I had a software company or a synth company, I would make plugins because you don't have to build a box. For me, it's almost like this is like my Noah's Ark for drum machines. I collect them, I think they sound great, and I love that they all come with some like residual history. The fact that they've all been used and had drinks spilled on them and people have sweated on them. You know, that's as much as I like the world of plugins, no one ever sweats on a plugin.
He has a sound sample site? The world is ending.
Like when you're in a band, you're always waiting for the other musicians to show up. And logistically, being in a band is quite difficult. Because you have 4 people in a band in the suburbs, like one of them's drunk, one of them and more equipment. I mean, I have a lot of equipment in storage in Long Island City, but this is most of what I use. The most recent album, Wait For Me, was everything was recorded here. You know, the drums, the vocals, the guitars, the keys, the bass. I mean, big studios are great if you're recording a rock band, or if you're...
This synth setup, so are these all wired in and you just pull them out whenever you need to play each one, or do you have to, is it just storage?
No, they're all wired, so you have like MIDI going to here, going into all of these. They all receive MIDI because I don't actually use them. I have the MIDI controller over there. But yeah, they're all hooked up into the patch bay. I guess I got lucky because there was a time in the late 80s when no one wanted anything analog. So this was like $300 or $400. I have my 808 and my 909 and a few 303s that were all in that same like $400. So it's ironic that old analog equipment is literally about 10 or 20 times more expensive now than it was 5 years after it was made. At one point, I could fit most of the synths that I had in here.
This from 14 years ago.
But then eBay happened, and I just...
Actually, he's sold a lot of records.
Started buying stuff obsessively.
Do you use all the equipment that you buy, or is it...
Well, there's a lot of it I do, but especially with the drum machines, most of... I mean, they all work, but most of them are for show. So what I did when I bought the drum machines is I take them in here and I sample the individual sounds because it makes it a lot easier to use them. And then they just sit out there looking pretty.
You got a lot of doubles out there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I ended up with a lot of doubles because Rock Your Baby, people have discovered these. You know, like the 909s, the 808s, I mean, a lot of the Roland drum machines, you know, people are willing to spend thousands of dollars for them. And these are still pretty cheap, like $200, $300, but they're amazing. Yeah, these, like, if my apartment's on fire, these are what I would grab.
Really? Can we hear a little bit of that? Is that possible?
I think so. We can lose the space drum.
So they're all pre-programmed. You can't.
They're all pre-programmed.
But they're still fairly intuitive.
I mean, you can lose different parts.
Have you used this on any of your albums?
Mm-hmm. In making records, I've always just been very utilitarian. Like, use whatever's at hand and use whatever works. And also, one of the reasons I have used a lot of electronic instruments over the years is once you have them, they're easier to record than live instruments. You know, like recording.
Yeah, this is from 14 years ago. So he obviously changed his mind. I didn't know that he sold shit. It's a crazy setup. And he got rid of all this stuff? Look at that thing.
Because sometimes I'll buy a lot at one time, and it's on my to-do list to actually listen to them. So this is on my to-do list of ones to listen to. But I think it's so.
Has that been on a record?
What's that?
Has that been on a record yet?
No, recording it.
I read both of his books. It's pretty good. I think one of them was called Porcelain. I don't remember what the other one was called. The first one was really good. The second one was that.
Which one you want me to take?
The pan chocolat.
This is super, super layer.
Okay, perfect. Oh, yes. Perfect, perfect, perfect. What's up, Chill Beats? Yes, you are correct. But the first book was really interesting, man. The way he became Moby. Very fascinating story. Give him a lot of credit. He, hustled. And then all of a sudden became a big deal. And it's had a very long career. Moby. 60. Moby has sold 20 million records worldwide. That's so unlikely. When you read the book, you're like, wow. Talking about No Chance, and then Got a Chance. Play, that was a big record. 12 million copies of Play. He had a moment there. Now he has a vegan cafe in Manhattan and in Los Angeles. He's made a lot of money. And he also, he puts out like 1 million tracks. Let's get to his discography. He has a huge discography now. Yeah, he got healthy. I mean, do I think he's the coolest guy in the world? No, but look at it. A lot of records, man. He does all these ambient things now. Don't knock the hustle. Yeah, I get it. Because there was that whole thing, but fuck it. I mean, Eminem turned out to be sort of douchey too, so what are you going to do? Anybody got sessions this weekend? I want you guys to think about Tony Braxton. Think about how good that R&B was. We'll never see that again. We hardly knew it. Yeah, bullying Moby is kind of really is that not punching down? I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean, Eminem's a bit of a douche. You want to hang out with Eminem? Yeah, Moby had some. I mean, he sold 12 million actual copies. Oh, very nice. Chill Beats became a VIP. Nice. Doing good work for moms. That's good. Somehow I have to make it to 11:30 or 12 tomorrow before I eat again. I think I can do it. It's a lot of water. I think you're right. I think he's definitely talented, you know. Yeah, that was a big deal, that record. But I think it comes a time when you're like 50 years old or some shit that, I don't know. Maybe it's time to not wear the hoodie. And he's lip syncing all over the place. There's that issue. The interesting thing about Moby is that he actually can play piano and guitar. He's done a lot of fucking records. Yes, I am. I'm doing 18/6. How many liters is this? 1 liter. You drink 4 of these a day? That's a lot of water. I probably do 2 of these a day. 2. A fair amount of coffee. I've cut back on... Whenever I do like intermittent, I drink way less coffee. And... way less sugar. Sugar is my problem. Yes. I think tonight I'm going to have some tea before I check out for the night. I am almost done with Frankenstein. I think I mentioned to you guys that I was reading that. 72, that sounds tough. Wow. Yeah, I like a good brownie. I like ice cream. Can't deny it. Yeah, Moby makes some great records. I would guess that you played some Norman Cook stuff too, I guess. Another good one. It's been a mellow night on the the real OG version of Frankenstein. It's a fucking great book. I never read it. And there's supposed to be a new movie coming of that, right? You like a good 60-hour fast. 60 hours. Okay. Your birthday is in 7 days. All right. Yeah. No, I'm doing intermittent fasting. So I'm doing the 18 hours of fasting, 6 hours of eating. I had a beer tonight. But if you do a real fast, you can't have alcohol or, that would not be good. What's going on the Discord tonight? Where are we at here? Layer cake. I didn't see Tracy tonight. Post your music here. You guys have been pumping out some music. I checked out that Sketch Turner tune. That was pretty good. Hey Turner. Yeah, you got to be careful with that. Good. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I mean, I pop in there here and there. It's been a crazy week for me. Didn't have a 1,000% chance. Share the Discord link. 82 DC, you got that? You have a wrench, right? Yeah. Okay. Speaking of water, I'm going to go get one. Be right back. Do I have a tune to play or anything? Or should I play my track? Yeah, I think the kick needs a little saturation. Maybe you could turn the kick up and, I'm thinking some saturation possibly. Weaver has a new video up. Take it easy, Drindy. Maybe you could use a little infiltrator or soothe. Maybe turn the kick up. And, I'd like to hear a different bass on that, if possible. Maybe something with a little more movement. Saturate the kick, please. See you, Drindy. See you Sunday. Yeah, it needs saturation. As much saturation as possible. I am into the way that Pro Tools and Splice integrates now. What did I just do? Hold on a second. There we go. Oh. Maybe this needs to be smaller. Hold on. There we go. If you notice, see how Splice now you could either have it as a separate screen on top, or you could just have it tucked right into Pro Tools. So your Splice selections, and then of course they all work like everybody else was used to already, but not us Pro Tools guys. Now everything syncs up and everything plays along. What is this? I don't hear anything. What the fuck is it? Interesting. What happened to my track? I'm bragging about Splice and now it doesn't make any noise. Sometimes you got to do something weird, like take it out. Oh, there we go. And then put it in. How's it go? Is it this? Yeah. So then it's in there. It's almost like cheating though, huh? Not that I mind cheating. What does it say? Weaver. Oh, geez. I fell for that one. Upward compression. Unbelievable. Thanks, EDK. It needs analog warmth. These are all classic lines. It's for the app that I'm working with. I pay for a Pro Tools subscription, yes. I think it's like $40 a month, something like that. That's currently for the app that I'm working with. I'm making tracks for that. Cowbell. Okay. Beautiful. I think I'm going to pack it in for a somewhat early Friday, 10:30 Friday. A lot of talking. Sade's belly button on that track. I'll take that. MPC and guitar. I watched your latest video. You were talking about the MPC quite a bit. That was good stuff. You were talking about the future MPC. Correct? You got a lot going on there, man.
All right, hey, good morning.
This dude.
Just out here getting highly caffeinated.
This is one of
Was
our
checking
guys.
out YouTube, and there's some rumors about a new MPC coming out. So I thought I'd come on and talk a little bit about it.
This is a different vibe from MPC and guitar. He talks the whole time. You never know what you're going to get from him. He's the variety king. So he's talking about the MPC Live 3, and he's speculating.
There's not going to be any music in this video. Last couple days I've been seeing this hype about the new MPC.
He went for the jump cuts.
I've heard rumors about a microphone and some upgraded speakers. Did they get the mixer figured out?
MPC and guitar. Hopefully you guys have subbed to this dude.
I'm currently running MPC 3.5 on my X, and the mixer isn't working for me. There's some issues with the mixer. There's also a rumor that there's an update coming soon, so maybe...
He put the guy's video on, and this is his reaction. Here's the Discord link there. What is this? Discord, here we are. Let's see. I like this take.
I'm a big supporter of the MIDI functions. The MIDI capabilities, I'm trying to exploit MIDI capabilities. The Live 3, is it going to have 4 MIDI outputs? Maybe we'll add a fader back in. That would be pretty cool. My favorite part of the older MPCs is the fader. You know, if they had like a really performance scratch fader. I'm excited to see what it is. I'm a little bit skeptical. Kai's not sending me MPCs. Okay, all this is hard-earned cash money. C3, they included audio tracks in the track mutes. You know, I guarantee the first day that they release that thing, there's going to be 100 videos.
That's for sure, man. You know that's the case. Look, you got you got 1,600 views and counting, man, in 2 days. You mentioned an MPC at Live 3. You know, next thing you know, Weaver's going to be doing a Live 3 video. You gave him an idea there, man. There's the sub. Anyway, everybody, appreciate you coming by. I enjoyed myself. It was a nice little distraction as usual. He wants it at MPC with a saturated kick. And, you know, it's good to get away from it all for a couple hours on a Friday, right? And, you know, stay off social media for a little bit. I think there's something up. They want people to escalate everything. If you don't see it, you're not paying attention. But, yeah, just, you know, saturate the kick, make some tracks, play some music, listen to some Tony Braxton. Better yet, watch some Tony Braxton videos and enjoy yourself. All right? I'm going to leave it on for a little bit so you guys can wrap up the chat.